I bet this is the most ubiquitous advice in Western culture self-help, and I think it's bullshit. I've heard it from yoga teachers, I've heard it from therapists, I've heard it in cognitive behavioral therapy, from mindfulness practitioners, from self-help books, from meditation teachers, from neuroscientists. Oh my God, it's everywhere. It is consistent across almost every modality that claims to help you with your mental health. And you know what that advice is? To get out of your body, to move your awareness upward, to connect with your mind, to regulate everything, every part of your nervous system through thought, to process your emotions intellectually. And you know what? I tried that. I tried that for years, but shit did not get better until I did the exact opposite. The pelvis and lower body gets a bad rap, spiritually, therapeutically, physically. In theory, it's the home of all of our fear, of all of our hedonistic desire, of our self-centered impulses. But you know what the pelvis also holds? It's a source of your power, both physically, as in your literal core, but also energetically. It's how and where we create new life. It's your root, your connection to the earth, and it's your ability to move forward. And finally, it's your knowing, your intuition. We get a gut feeling, we get butterflies, our stomach drops, it clenches, it does a somersault. So I'm going to say it. Living only in our heart and up is making us empathetic but insipid overthinkers and bypassers. I tried it for a decade, but it wasn't until I dropped into the lower part of my body that I found the vitality, I found juiciness, I found that bumping and grinding connection to the rhythm of life. Okay, I'm sweating. So that is what we are talking about in this episode of The Body Knows. We're going to get into why spiritual traditions might not have needed such a strong focus on the pelvis. But now that we are constantly disassociated and distracted, we do. We'll give you concrete examples of practices you could do literally right now while you're listening to this, so you stop masking your anxiety with affirmations and actually feel some balls deep peace. We're getting into how our constant state of overstimulation makes it harder than ever and thus more necessary than ever to slow the fuck down and connect to your root. And finally, a personal example of how this can quite quickly improve your sex life. I'm Leona Waller. You're about to meet my brilliant co-host, Anna Alley. Let's get into it. It's like, I don't exactly know what I'm saying here. And
Okay.
I want to figure it out with you
Okay.
because there's something here.
In lifetime.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
So this idea came to me
Mhm.
when I was on a women's circle last week, and we just dropped into our pelvises. I don't remember how it was opened, but we just when I tell you we dropped in, this is one of the most psychedelic sober experiences I've had in a while. Like one of those where you're like,
Uh,
I am in so deep to this meditative state. And it
mhm.
was, yeah, dropping into our root, our pelvis. Like we did some work around. I think I brought in the pelvis and the hips, and another woman was like, let's call it what it is, the anus. Like we're going in, we're getting in there. And just I have more embodied ways of describing it than verbal ways, but
Yeah.
dropping into that deep part of your body, that low part of your body.
Okay. The somatic practitioner in me is like, give me words, give me textures, give me
Okay.
descriptive.
Slow,
Okay.
slow and smooth circling, cycling, it feels
Uh-huh.
very oceanic to me.
Uh-huh.
Um
Oceanic is in deep and vast.
Yeah, deep and vast, but also earthy and soily and rooted, but it feels slow and
Yeah.
rhythmic. I think of rocking your
Yeah.
hips
Yeah.
and coming so far out of the head where you're like, I'm not thinking, I'm feeling. And I'm
Yeah.
specifically feeling my hips and I'm feeling my belly and I'm feeling my womb, my sexual centers. And I'm everything slows down and it kind of feels like for me, I'm moving through molasses. And we just spent an hour there, and, like, this circle is very open form, like, people hop in and they share, or they, like, lead a little practice or whatever, but we spent a lot of time just in silence, and you could tell we were all just like
In it.
so, so deep, and I came out of it and was like, "Oh my god, I feel so much better." I'm like, I was feeling fine when I went into this circle, but you know that feeling where you're like, "Oh my god, I didn't know I needed that." And just, like, this feeling of being, um I'm gonna try to use more, like, sensory somatic words, but feeling like relief, like there was a sense of relief of like, "Oh, I'm here. I'm out of the head," where, like, in my head, and I don't know if this is everybody, but maybe this is me, ADHD, dopamine addiction, I don't know, but the head where I'm like, "Oh, I should be doing more of this. Oh, there's more interesting, information and laughs and videos on the internet. Oh, I'm gonna do that. Oh, that email.
It's
Oh, that."
racing.
Yeah, racing, do, 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 do,
Yeah,
and, like,
yeah.
always looking for the next thing and trying to get to this some future place where I'm done with everything, but that doesn't exist, or at least if it does, I've never been there, and dropping not even into the heart. We love the heart, like,
Right.
not even into, like, this, like, place of, like, love and softness. It's, like, deeper. Like, even, like, there is love there, but it's not like this red and pink. It's, like, black,
Yeah, it's this
purple.
primordial love, this,
Yeah.
like, goo that created the universe.
Yeah, and all we did was connect to our pelvis, like, we weren't connecting to something crazy woo-woo, like, we were saying the words pelvis and hips and womb and anus, and, like,
Yeah.
oh, and then I had this other experience, and I asked for permission, so I know I can share this. Um, Mom and dad, if you're listening, maybe skip this part. I was hooking up with my boyfriend. And I could feel his, like, energy rising. Like, it was coming, he was getting a little, like, rushy. The feeling was, like, rushy,
Yep.
of and, like, pushing, and I could just, like, for me, it's this really tangible sense of, like, "Ooh, I feel all your energy in your collarbones," and this, like, reaching, grasping, pushing, and I was like, "Babe, I want you to breathe into your balls for me."
Yes.
And he knows exactly what I mean, and he just takes a deep breath, and I was like, I felt the change in him so quickly. He went from being this, like, it almost felt like, and this is gonna sound super woo-woo, so here we are. Um, it felt like he was, like, almost like a stick figure, like, he was all of his energy was in his head. He had this big blobous head. Sorry, love, if you're listening. Um, I'm like, but the rest of him felt super thin and, like,
Yeah,
and not like, it's, like, not a super sexy energy, like, this graspy, like, I'm just trying
totally.
to get off, I'm just trying to get to pleasure, whatever. And when I said, like, "Breathe into your balls," and he did it, I was like, "Oh my god, suddenly this is a mountain of a man." Like, holy
Yes.
shit, like, so I know that word embodied, like, what the fuck does it mean? But it's like, oh, I can feel, like, consciousness in his legs and his toes and his hips and his belly button and his solar plexus, like, I can, like, he's just so got so, like, dense and present and, like, no longer on a very tangible level, like, no longer rushing, like, much more, like, leaning back into the moment and, like, the sensation of the moment and the pleasure of the moment.
Yeah.
And, like, oh, and I was just like, that just melted me open. It was literally, like, 3 breaths, and I was like,
And
"What?"
we've arrived.
And we
Yeah.
have arrived, and so that was a very long introduction to me being like, I don't know exactly how to use words to describe this that aren't woo-woo, because
Yeah.
I did come into this work from a more woo-woo perspective, but, like, there is so much power and pleasure and presence and all of the P's when you connect to the pelvis.
Yes, Leona.
So help me figure out what I'm saying and why this is and why people should do it, because it's like people say get out of your head and into your heart, and I'm like, no, the pelvis.
No, go to the pelvis.
Go to the pelvis.
I love this. Well, I mean, you just said help us, like, figure this all out. We can't explain the mysteries of the universe to you today.
Okay,
We do
fair
not
enough.
have answers here. But something I love about somatics and embodiment work is that we have a felt experience that is so real, and there is a collective felt experience that is similar or the same. And so, like, what do I mean by that? You were with a group of women and you all dropped into your pelvis and you all connected to this sensation within your body of slow, of deep, of just of like thick and juicy.
Juicy,
And
yeah.
yeah. And like this is a shared experience that people will have across the world, right? And that people have had across the world. We have lots of different cultures and practices that say the same thing, right? Because for whatever reason, big question mark, hello, great mystery, when we when we bring our awareness into our pelvis, we get slow, we get deep,
Mhm.
we access something different. When we drop our awareness into our heart, we feel this bubbling, this love, this light, the desire for connection, and when we drop into our minds, end up in this analytical, rational, thought-based, like, there for whatever reason, we all have already had in some way this collective experience, this collective knowing, and, go back to our last episode for a rant on using the scientific data for all that it has to offer and remembering that it's not an end all be all and our lived experience and especially our collective lived experience counts for something.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, this is a part of it. We
Yeah.
connect to these different parts of our bodies and we have access to a pretty consistent set or group of sensation and emotion.
Mhm. Yeah.
What a powerful thing.
What a powerful thing. And, like, it's just so accessible in your own body, like,
We have our bodies all the time.
and it's like, oh, the power of it. And that's, like, after this women's circle, and I was, like, daydreaming, and I was like, we could run a 3-month course on, like, the power of dropping into your pelvis.
Yeah. Yeah, I've thought about, like, cervix wisdom courses,
Yes.
right? Like, let's talk about obviously not right now with the cervix, but,
Yeah.
I mean, one of the biggest mysteries of life is held inside of the womb,
Yeah.
right? Like, this is a powerful place to connect with.
Yeah. Because I had a yoga instructor, like, my yoga teacher, trainer was, like, super clear, like, spiritual maturity comes from rising through the chakras, and everyone starts in their lower chakras, and they start with safety and security, they're obsessed with their primal urges, they want what they want, and then they slowly move up into empathy, they move up into expression, and then they move up into intuition, and then they move up into being connected with the all of everything. And I'm like, I'm not saying that you're wrong, but I'm saying that we have managed to cut. Like, there is a severing that I don't think existed 5,000 years ago when yoga was a thing, where
Yeah.
we have disconnected our mental experience from our physical experience. We were walking around like disassociated balloons, and, like, now a lot of people who are doing the heart work or the brain work need to do the root work.
Yes. I think you're both right. I think, like, what she listed is the natural progression. But what we're living in our culture is this conditioning that's like it's an illness in the end.
Yeah.
And it's from this disconnect that happens. And because I would say, like, as children, like, if you look at how children are being and acting, they're in their lower chakras.
Yeah.
Like, she's right
Yeah.
in that sense that,
Yeah.
like, as we go through this, like, developmental from baby to adulthood, like, we are rising through these chakras throughout that time, and there's these different initiations that happen. But at some point, because of cultural conditioning, there's a disconnect that happens.
Yeah.
And that child at some point, and I'm gonna go ahead and say during teenage years, I don't know, but, like, is taught, not explicitly, implicitly, to disconnect from those lower chakras and to
Yeah.
only, live disconnect from those lower chakras. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Tot
that's that, that you're not allowed to feel, you're not allowed to express, your feelings are useless and invalid. Like, all these different cultural conditioning pieces are related to those chakras then.
Yeah. Yeah, and so this is probably a question for you because you're the somatics person. Like, people who are listening who are like, "What? How do you drop your consciousness into your womb?" I want to try to pull apart how one can do that, and then,
Yeah.
like, it moments when you can do that and, like, what you can expect to shift, because I've given to of in my women's circle when I felt like this deep replenishment and, like, this connection to, like, my sensuality and, like, I got pulled out of my dopamine hamster wheel, rat lever pressing brain and got pulled into this present moment where I was, like, so connected to just the feelings of my body and, like, the pleasure available right here, and I felt so relaxed and I felt so nourished. And then a different moment with my partner dropping into his pelvis of like, oh, the like power and like presence I suddenly felt in him. So like, how can people do that? What can people expect? Why are the lower chakras all about safety and security? Does that relate? I don't want to throw too many things in here, but there's just like
I know.
mysteries of the pelvis.
Stay tuned for our 3-month course.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, gosh, I mean, this is, like, where I love our synergy, right? Because somatics plus embodiment.
Yeah.
And as we've said so many times, I think somatics is a gateway and a really safe and accessible entry point into stepping into a world of body-based practices.
Yeah.
Where then embodiment practices take it to, like, a whole new level. Somatics is embodied, right? But
Yeah.
we're using, different terms here to express different ways of going about this.
Yeah.
But so for me, it's all about just bringing awareness to sensation. First and
Mhm.
foremost, and, like, gross sensation, and not gross as in, like, icky, gross as in, like, big versus
Mhm.
little sensation. Big sensations, obvious sensations. I'm sitting right now, and if I wiggle my pelvis, if I wiggle my hips, I feel my sit bones on the chair. There we go, I dropped into my pelvis. That is all we're saying. Um And then I can, if you've heard of Kegels, you can clench and unclench your pelvic floor muscles. There's a million different ways to do this. Don't ask me how, but there's sort of just like the classic one, the Kegel. Go see a pelvic floor PT if you want to learn more. Um, but we can do Kegels. We can clench and unclench our pelvic floor and notice the sensation there. Woo! There you go. You dropped into your pelvis again.
I love people doing Kegels. This is for some reason happened to me multiple times, like, someone doing like, actually it happened in my women's circle. You can do a Kegel where I'll just, like, making eye contact, but, like, clearly doing Kegels.
So good.
Kegels on Zoom calls. Try it out. Anyway.
um, Self-contact is another practice, right? I what one that I really like is, like, drumming on your bones because you can feel this reverberation. So drumming on your pelvic bones, and
Mhm.
I'm wrapped in a blanket right now. It's kinda here, and so I can't really I'm not getting that drumming sensation I want, but hopefully you are. But there's whoever's listening, try it right now. Just take your fingertips if you're not watching, like, just imagine, like, hitting with the tips of your fingertips your bones, your collarbone, your ribs, move down into your belly, and you can feel these reverberations that are skin level and go inside. Bring your awareness to these sensations, and it's as simple as that. And we're
Mhm.
using these words like drop into your pelvis, and that might sound too woo woo for you. So I'm going to translate into somatics language of what sensations do you feel in your pelvis?
Mhm.
What sensations do you feel surface level? What sensations do you feel inside?
Mhm.
And contact, again, this idea of like gross, large, not subtle sensation is where we start.
Mhm. And I adding the embodied, like, next level practice. My go-to practice when I'm trying to drop into my pelvis is to put on a song that has a slow bass line. Start there. Your
Yes,
body
I'm
will probably do the rest.
Yeah, and I feel the same way, like, when I'm trying to drop into my pelvis and I'm using music in some way, it's not a fast, upbeat thing, and that's in alignment, that coincides with our lived experience of dropping into your pelvis is slow, is
Mhm.
rhythmic, is spiraling, is, like, this deep and vast, so we
Mhm.
need music that matches that vibe, that feel that we're getting
Mhm.
from it. And so what Leona's doing right now is what I was gonna suggest as well. Circle your pelvis, circle your hips, circle in one direction. And what do you feel in your joints? What do you feel in your hip bones? What do you feel in the front of your pelvis, in your low abdomen? What do you feel in the back? And then switch directions.
Mhm.
What do you feel there? Notice, like, it might feel a little more, halting or awkward one direction as opposed to the other? What do you feel in your sacrum as you're doing this? And a lot of people are like, "I don't feel anything." And I wanna say, like, I started there too in a lot of ways, but it's not that I don't feel anything, it's that I don't know how to bring my awareness there. Because your
Mhm.
clothing is tight on you. Your clothing is moving when you move. Gravity is always on your body somewhere. And so it's not that you don't feel anything, and using that language, I almost like I suggest people remove. It's not that I don't feel anything, you do, your body is receiving a F ton of sensations right now. I'm not aware of what my body's feeling right now.
Mhm.
It's like, I think, a more accurate terminology.
Yeah. And to go back to disassociation being a hell of a drug, um, like, we are so overstimulated mentally, like
Not just mentally, but, like, there's sounds, there's colors, there's smells, there's
Yeah.
so much happening
Yeah.
sensorially as well.
Yeah, so learning how to, like, tune in, and I think we did a podcast. We've talked about this somewhere. I'll find it, and I'll put a link. Um, like, learning how to tune in to those more subtle sensations is a practice, and it's often feels like nothing is happening because it's a more subtle sensation. Like, it's just a more subtle sensation.
Right, right, and, like, we're expecting so much of the time we're like, "I'm expecting some amazing experience to happen. I'm gonna do an embodiment practice, and, like, Leona said this and that, and so, like, when I drop in, I'm gonna feel this and that," and it's like, a lot of the time, that's not the case. It's a
No,
subtle thing.
no. Like, if you go back to when people were creating, like, spiritualities, like, talking about I'm thinking of, like, tantra and, like, dropping into okay, don't get too far into that. Anyway, like, just imagine 2,000 years ago when there was no technology, there was no electricity, there was no phones, there was very little information, like, you spent a lot of time wandering the forest, the savannah, and
Connected to your
yeah,
body.
connected to your body and, like, in quiet,
Yeah.
like, the sensations of your pelvis would have these subtle sensations would have taken up a lot more space in your consciousness because you just don't have so much around. So,
Mm.
like, exactly what you're saying, like, we think it's gonna be some big thing, and this has been, like, one of my deepest teachings is that, like, I am expecting my body's signals to be so loud. I'm expecting to be brought to tears with, like, the feeling of my heart opening. I'm expecting kundalini lightning bolt to, like, fly up my tailbone. And you know what?
Yeah.
I'm having, like, a lot of incredible sensations. They're just turned down to a 3.
Yeah.
And I am judging them for being a 3 because I am used to 10s. Like,
Yeah.
I get to make this rich cacao every morning. I get to turn on my phone and see the entire world. Like, I get to turn up music really loud. I get to make my shower a million degrees. Like, I get to have all of these big sensations.
Yeah.
But, like, especially when you come into the pelvis, like, oh, it's not about intensity. It's not about intensity.
Yeah.
It's actually so often about slowing down and, like, embracing the just what is, like, dissolving into what is.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I think that really relates to what you were just saying of, we're being bombarded with all these sensations. And so we intentionally we're actively trying to disconnect from the world around us as to not be overwhelmed by it. And because we're overwhelmed by our modern world, whether we realize it or not, our bodies are overwhelmed. And so we use the word, I'm tuning out that sound, or I'm tuning out that that light, that smell, or. And so as a result, we're also tuning out our ability to tune in to what's happening in our body, and especially so on a subtle level.
Yeah.
And it feels like nothing's going on there as a result.
Yeah. Yeah,
You're
like
like, "Wait, that's it?"
yeah,
That and that's, like, the most common thing that people say to somatic practices. "Wait, oh, that's it?"
yeah,
And then it's, "Well, this is boring," right?
yeah,
And
yeah,
again, living in our dopamine-driven world, in our culture that's addicted to their phones and their screens and scrolling and all of this other stuff is gonna initially feel boring, and we're
right,
gonna judge it, and there's gonna be a part of our body that's addicted to the intensity and the dopamine hits. It's like, "No, don't follow that. That's not worth it."
yeah. Peace is boring. Contentment is boring.
So
The
funny.
feeling of ease and safety is fucking boring.
It's
I
not exciting. It's
it's
not.
yeah, this I love that we've ended up down this rabbit hole. These I have a rant. I have a rant.
Yes, rant for us, Leona.
So one of like the woman that I've trained the most from, Sabrina Lynn of Rewilding for Women, at the end of I did like a year-long women's embodiment immersion with her, and we had one-on-one calls at the end, and she told me, like, going forward, what to work on, and she was like, "You're addicted to intensity." I was obviously offended. It was deeply true. Um, and it's taken me, like, I think that was, like, 4 years ago, and it's taken me all this time to really understand what she meant by that, because when I got into embodiment, like, I was experiencing so many moments of deep catharsis because I was having such big emotional releases from years of emotional suppression. And so, like, when I started going into the lower chakras, which the pelvis, which can also be related to uncomfortable emotions, going into like grief and fear, like I was having these huge experiences, but then I only marked that as progress, that like having these big cathartic experiences. And so I would go pick at shit. I'd go pick at shit in my mind that didn't need to be picked at because I was looking for a feeling of catharsis. And you know what I didn't find? Peace. That is not what I found. But now I, with this women's circle going into the pelvis, like, oh my god, like, that level of peace and restoration and replenishment and, like, truly a feeling of, like, I have arrived. Like, I need nothing. I am, like, so fully in every square inch, technically every cubed inch of my body. And, like, And it's like feels so good, and I can just breathe deeply without needing anything, and I think that's also what I experienced with my boyfriend of, like, he stopped going for the reaching, grasping, needing, and he, like, leaned back into the pleasure of the moment, and it was like, "Oh, and now we can be in what is without trying to rush somewhere else," and that's, like, not counterintuitive, but, like, maybe is counterintuitive, like, we always
Our modern mind.
yeah. Hold on one second, my mom is yelling, "Hi, mom, I'm recording a podcast." "Welcome back, love you."
Hi, Susie.
Anna says hello. She says hi. Okay, yeah, that was my rant.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. And it's uh, there's this part of me that keeps coming to, like, okay, but for everyone who's listening who's still like, "What the fuck?" I mean, if you're even still there, if you haven't turned this off yet.
That makes sense. Yeah.
But well, okay, so first I wanna ask Leona, when you first started dropping into your pelvis,
Mhm.
what did you experience?
Um, so, like, years ago.
Yeah.
This is a great question. When I first started I think I felt a deep sense of unsafety.
Yeah. Yep.
I felt
I'm gonna second that.
yeah,
I'm
I
gonna
felt clenching, and I
yeah.
felt an unease, and I felt everything that I'd been trying to avoid,
Yeah.
because with phones, with sweet food, with whatever, with rushing around, being busy, everything that I was trying to avoid was down there, and I was like, "Oh, I feel insecure, and I feel uncomfortable, and I feel sad, and I feel angsty."
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep, yep, totally. And, like, I was having flashbacks to your embodiment classes in Telluride,
Yeah.
and I have this one, like, very specific memory where, like, one of our friends was, like, dancing like a freaking goddess around their room, and she was about to go on a Grand Canyon trip for, like, a month, and she was just, like, in her body and, like, just loving life, and I was, like, literally standing next to the window, holding my pelvis, sobbing my eyes out.
Yes, that's
Do you
so
remember this?
real. Welcome to embodiment, everybody.
Leona was totally guiding us into our pelvises, right? But what we're each gonna encounter there is going to be different. And what
Yeah.
we're most likely going to encounter there when we first arrive is discomfort in some way. And and if we look at this on a like a physiological, somatic level, if we look at how soft tissues respond to stress, how that clenching, that tightening happens throughout our body, a lot of it's going to happen in the pelvis and in the pelvic floor, and
Mhm,
especially so for women for whatever reason.
mhm,
And and so when we first bring our awareness there, we're going to encounter all the things that make us clench, all the things that make
mhm,
us go, ah. Um, and so for a lot of people, it's maybe not the place to start as well. And
mhm.
when we're first learning to connect to our bodies, especially if you're someone who has experienced trauma in any sense, in any way, be gentle with yourself
Yeah.
as you arrive there.
You don't have to do what I did.
You don't have to go for
How
the
much can I cry?
so good.
A little addicted to intensity, just a
Just only a
little.
little. I never call her out for it anymore.
You're so good to me.
So, where do you start? We all have a different starting place. Going back to your question earlier, right? We all have a different starting place. And for some
Yeah.
people, it's like, can I just start in my hands, in the palms of my hands? Heat, heat and tingling. Oh, cool. And that's my felt sense experience in my hands in this moment. And that's me dropping into my hands. If we're going to use embodiment speak.
I love that.
We're gonna translate for you. We go back and forth so you can find a safe resting place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. How did you know when you were ready to drop into your pelvis or, like, when you were called to use more embodiment speak?
Yes. I had hit rock bottom, and I was a mess, and it was like there was nothing left to do,
Mm,
and that yeah, I I just I was, like, ready to try anything,
mhm,
and at the same time, I was simultaneously like, my engineering, mechanical analysis brain was like, "You have a lot of dysfunction, and a lot of it's associated in your pelvis and your abdomen,
mm,
and so why not give it a try? Why not try this whole somatics thing, this whole bringing awareness to your body and seeing if it does something? Because like where you're at right now, like we are lost and we are without other options.
yeah,
So it was time to try.
mhm,
And then I would get that positive feedback experience.
mm,
And it really all started with the Vipassana retreat.
mm,
Is listening and like hasn't heard like Vipassana refers to a style of meditation that's very old, and there are these different people offer different courses, but there's this like, traditional path offered by the Dhamma Institute with this teacher Goenka, and it's a 10-day silent meditation course all over the place. You can Google it.
mm,
It's by donation, and so the idea is someone paid for your spot
mm,
and you come and you receive that service that someone has offered you, and then you give whatever you can. And so some centers will tell you how much it costs to feed and house you for those 10 days. Some centers won't. And the idea is you just give what you can. But so this course is all about meditation. Vipassana means awareness of sensation in the body. You know, it's hilarious that I'm using this word somatics and people are like, "Oh, this new science, somatics." It's like, no, 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 no. People have been practicing this for like way more than 5,000 years, right? It's just
yeah,
this is the Western mind coming in and research and science and being like, "Oh, actually,
yeah.
if we bring awareness to the body, that's
Literally
what
colonizing the lived experience, but okay. We discovered it! No, you no, you didn't.
fuck's sake." So with that said, that was my first introduction to all of this. And at the time, I didn't know that Vipassana retreats, people in chronic pain would go to Vipassana retreats intentionally to try to alleviate chronic pain. It was a common experience that people have. I didn't know this when I went in.
That's crazy.
Mhm. But so, like, essentially, it's like 10 days of somatics boot camp. Like, and not only is it like 10, so it's like 10 hours a day of meditation. The first 3 days are just like awareness of the breath. And like partway through the second day, most people are like, "What have I done? What am I doing
Mm.
here?" People start leaving, etcetera, 'cause it's in part, like, boring AF, right, for any Western person who's just used to, like, bombarded with dopamine, and it's deeply uncomfortable.
Discomfortable.
Discomfortable. It's I love making up words when we talk. Because, we've got all this repressed memory and emotion, and we're bringing our awareness there, and
Yeah.
discomfort's gonna come in from that.
Mhm.
Um, but thankfully, one of my toxic traits is that if I give up, I'm worthless, and so I stuck with it.
The golden shadow.
And I remember maybe, like, 4 days in or something, just having this moment of experiencing peace
Mm,
like I had never experienced before.
mhm.
And then experiencing, and I'm gonna say this and most people are gonna be like, "What?" But experiencing joy in the soles of my feet. And I will never forget this experience. But I remember it was after the teacher had I think suggested, you know, practicing Vipassana outside of sitting, doing body sweeps, bringing your awareness to the body just on your day to day. And so I remember I was walking the grounds because there are these beautiful trails that you could walk, and I put my awareness in the soles of my feet, and I just felt joy bubbling there. I don't know how to explain it, and I'll never forget it. And then anyway, at the end of these 10 days, I quickly noticed, like, a lot of the chronic pain I've been dealing with for years had subsided.
What?
And it was, like, just this and again, I had not dove into I didn't know the word somatics, I was just like and I was just, "This is real. I don't know what just happened, but something just happened, and this is real." And I still ignored it, but I went back right, I didn't, like, do anything about it. I was like, "Wow, what a wild experience. I feel significantly better." And then lived my life as I normally did, repressing and not expressing and etcetera.
Mhm,
And then did another one and had a similar experience, and then at that point,
mhm,
I started learning about somatics, etcetera. I hadn't heard the term embodiment yet.
mhm.
That wasn't really until I met Leona that, like, that word came in, and again, at the time, I was like, "Oh, this is woo-woo bullshit," like but there was also this other part of me that had had enough experiences in this life to be like, "Oh my gosh, there's a giant mystery that we're all a part of, and I can't deny that." And I've, like, settled in, like, it's just into a little safe middle ground bridge there, and
Mm,
so then when, I started going to Leona's practices and I was feeling such discomfort coming up, it was a sign of like, "Oh, I should lean into this.
mm,
This is an edge for me, and this is something that's holding me in this pain, in this discomfort by not facing it, by not acknowledging it, by not offering
mhm,
it witness and feeling and expression." And I had that Vipassana experience, 10 days to, like, prove to me without a doubt that there is something worth it there.
mhm.
And so it was worth diving into this other way as well. And I gotta say, way prefer embodiment. Sitting still for 10 hours a day for 10 days straight, I mean, kill me. Like, I just absolutely not.
I was like
Embodiment practice where I'm, like, moving and breathing and sounding and, like, yeah, I can do that all day. Like, you have to tear me
I I'm
apart.
I was as you were talking about Vipassana, because I, have some prejudice around sitting still because I tried mindfulness meditation for years, and all I would do is feel asleep and then wake up feeling worthless, um, because I failed, obviously, um, and
Obviously.
so, like, the idea of sitting still and then coming into your body, like, those 2 things feel like different things for me, but I think as you're talking, I'm realizing, like, but the point was sensation, like, and bringing your consciousness to sensation, and you don't
Yep,
need to be moving to bring
yep,
your consciousness to sensation in your pelvis, for example, but sometimes it does help to, like, circle. It can be a faster way to bring your
yeah,
awareness into your pelvis.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, and so I think, like, what Vipassana does offer is, although it's, like, harder at first, you're really learning to tune into the subtle,
Yeah.
and you're like, it's this experience of, like, I don't feel anything, nothing's happening, next
Mhm.
day, I still don't feel anything, but you keep at it, and these subtle sensations come into awareness, become
Yeah.
connected to your awareness again, and then again, I think, going back to this idea of wherever we encounter discomfort is like a growing edge, a growth edge for
Mhm.
us. Um, my resistance to wanting to sit still was an indicator that there was probably something to be healed there and gained
Yeah.
and learned.
Yeah.
And with that said, it's not my go-to. It's not my natural state. And for a lot of people, it is. And that's this, I think, beautiful piece of bioindividuality. We are each unique biological systems.
Mhm.
Our body, mind, spirit is gonna find ease and easeful connection to certain practices and not others. They're
Mhm.
all worth exploring, and it is worth exploring, like, what feels in alignment with
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. Totally. Um, I really wanted to weave in, also the grounding somatic practice
Yeah.
into this because like, for those of you listening, you might have noticed that, like, we're talking about the pelvis And then we also sometimes mention the lower chakras, and then we also sometimes mention discomfort and heavy emotions, and sometimes and we're like, all of those things are related, but you're like, that seems like kind of like a random grouping of things that you've decided are all related, and you're like, "Well, weirdly, they all live in the pelvis." And I can't really explain to you why both safety and security of the root chakra and pleasure live side by side with, like, this presence and power. Like, I don't know, you're exploring the labyrinth that is the lower body, and you find a lot of cool shit down there.
Yeah.
So that was a long way of me winding up to now explaining a grounding practice, which is another thing that people might be like, "I don't totally understand how this is directly related to the pelvis."
Yeah.
But this practice that I've learned from you, this somatic practice, I feel like is, um, if we're talking about, like, the sensation of the pelvis, that's like a somatic not somatic, that's like a sensational, physical way of connecting with the pelvis. And then you can talk about emotional ways of connecting with the pelvis, which are, like, more like getting into your sensuality, touching into heavy things that you've been like, avoiding, denying. These are, like, emotional entry points. My parents are yelling about something. Can you hear that?
No.
Okay, great. Um, so that's the, like, kind of emotional doorway. And then this grounding practice feels like an energetic doorway into, like, some of the many wonders of the pelvic world, the pelvic lands. Um,
The wonders of the pelvic world. I love it.
that will be our tagline, for our course.
And I
Uh,
do wanna say before, you do this practice, like, you just said, like, we can't explain this to you or tell this to you. It can't be done. I guess I wanna say.
mhm,
It's to be experienced. It
yeah,
is what's coming to me here, is we it's our body's felt sense experience. It's not a mind's creation. A mind can come in and analyze it and observe it and put words to it and try to explain it and communicate it, but, like, you need to go there and drop in to
yeah,
receive this experience, this truth, this fill in the
yeah.
blank.
And, like, you'll receive what you need to receive, like,
Yeah.
uh, you
You'll
know
experience what you need to
Yeah,
experience.
like Anna sobbing by the window as this other woman is, like, dancing, like, wildly and freely, like,
Yeah.
it'll be the release, the expression, the experience that you need it to be in that moment.
And this is why the body knows, right? This is what we always come back to. Your body knows what it needs. Your body will ask you to experience and feel what needs to be experienced and felt.
Yeah,
And we just have to tune in to do that.
yeah. So I would love if you could explain the grounding practice because this is really
I am I've got a million grounding practices under my belt.
okay, fair enough. So it's
No
the
problem.
one, in Coming Home to Your Body, which is a course we will have coming out sometime in the future. Um, and it's the first one. And so basically it's about rooting into the earth and rooting in through your feet, through your legs, through your hips, through your tailbone into the earth. And like very classic somatically, it's about like planting your feet and feeling the weight of gravity and feeling your bones stacking on top of each other, feeling the weight of your bum in your seat. Like that's a very sensational way. Then, kind of the more energetic, emotional part of it that really speaks to me is like what happens in your body when you root into what you stand for, when
Yes.
you root into what you care about, when you root into your values and priorities. And like th that like, if you are not driving, if you can, even in this moment, take a moment to, like, 5 seconds to just breathe into, like, what you care about and what you stand for and what matters to you and what you're willing to fight for. And, like, if your lower body does not get activated, do it again for longer.
Keep trying. Keep
Well,
practicing.
It's like I feel my body preparing to, like, push against a wall, and that means, like, I feel my glutes and my thighs. I feel denser, I feel more anchored in my core, in, like, my lower belly, whereas, like, I feel the source of my power, um, and I suddenly have come out of the spirals of my head. I've come out of this, like, "Ugh, but I want more sugar," or, like, whatever my head is currently thinking about, and,
Yeah.
like, I feel more powerful, I feel more rooted, and so this grounding practice, like, even like, that power that comes from what matters to me, what do I care about, activates your lower body, and suddenly, like, you are more powerful. That's
This
crazy.
yeah. Yes, this is one of my favorite practices of, like, sitting down and answering for yourself, like, "What is the ground I stand on?
That's it.
What matters to me?"
Mhm.
And for everyone, it's gonna be different. There's gonna be some similarities there, but it's gonna be different. And one of the ways I like to help guide people into understanding, like, "Okay, but what matters to me?" Is to imagine, like, okay, if you come up with a list of 5 things, I'm gonna hand you a genie in a bottle, and I'm gonna say, "This genie will give you these 5 things. Will
Mhm.
will give you a life, a purpose, a like, it will just this will be a part of your life." Is is that them?
Mhm.
Those the 5 things? Like, is this, like, the biggest fuck yes of your life? Because that is the ground you stand on. Can you define
Mm.
that for yourself? And then can you have a somatic embodied experience where you stand and you lift up a foot and you place on the earth and you say, "I stand for this." And you lift up another foot and you place on there. "This is what matters to me. This is the world I'm here to create. This is the life I'm here to live." And can you engage your legs, your pelvis, your spine, your foundation into this ground that you stand on, into this
Ah! I'm
this is
so
that
pumped.
somatic embodied experience. Yes, and this is what it does to us too. It vitalizes us. It not only it's not this even rejuvenating thing. It's this like, yeah, it helps stoke the fire.
Mhm.
And it reminds me of this other thing that one of my teachers says. He says, commitment is not the first step, but connecting to your for the sake of is the first
Mm.
step.
Mhm.
And that for the sake of is the ground you stand on in so many ways. So
Mhm.
I'm committing to somatic practice for the sake of learning to love myself again.
Mhm.
I'm committing to somatic practice for the sake of being a better parent. I am committing to embodiment work for the sake of healing my body.
Yeah.
Without that for the sake of, that commitment doesn't have that strength behind it that it needs. And that strength, and if you think of how our bodies are, oh, what's the word here? Used, created. We stand and we move from there, right? Like our legs are our foundation, our feet are our foundation, our pelvis is that connection point from that foundation to the rest of us, to our arms, to our
Mhm.
head, to our hearts, all of it. It is
Mhm.
the root, it is the foundation.
Yes. And like, okay, quick rant about the current spiritual trends, worlds.
Mm.
Like, look, I love connecting to the heart. The heart's a beautiful place to be. I love connecting to the third eye, to the imagination, to the daydreams, to the what is possible. If you don't connect to like this reality where we are right now and where you want to go from here, where you want to help this planet go from here, I'm sorry, but like your spirituality is half baked. Your
Yeah,
spirituality is kind of bypassy.
that's the word. I mean, we're bypassing. We're bypassing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, so
And
this,
this is also sorry.
all you.
No, but this is where, like, dysfunction from the heart space then comes from,
Ooh.
because we have people saying, and I'll speak from my own experience as a younger self in romantic relationships, staying in bad situations
Yeah.
because of my caring, loving heart.
Yes.
And there was so much love coming out and just, like, seeing the best in this person and knowing what was possible and knowing and, like and experiencing it with them when it did come out and
Mhm.
just, like, sticking with it because this is what love would do.
Mhm.
And in the end, that is what a certain flavor of love offers. Ooh,
Mhm.
this is our segue into the dark goddess.
Oh.
But what was missing there was this root work, this but what about my safety, my foundation, my belonging, my connection, my dignity and self-worth, my self-respect, your respect for me? And
Yeah.
there's, like, a fiercer love that comes in there, and that's this the heart we can't connect to that when we're disconnected from our lower chakras, when we're not taking care of our base
Yeah.
needs, our base values, our base groundwork, foundation, etcetera.
Yeah. Boom.
Dark goddess.
We're talking about the dark goddess right now, or is that part 2?
I think we're gonna make that part 2, but we can leave this in right now.
Yeah,
Stay tuned.
stay
Dark
tuned.
goddess work. What do they mean by that? No, this is not somatics.
It is embodiment. It's
It
very
is embodiment. We'll throw some teasers in here. Archetypal embodiment, working with archetypes, working with
Mhm.
very specific textures and flavors, and seeing how would my body move if I were this texture or flavor? How would my
Mhm.
throat or sound express itself if I was this texture or flavor? How would
Mhm.
fill in the blank? What is the embodiment of this thing?
Mhm.
The
And,
dark
like,
goes.
oh, I love this topic so much, I cannot wait. And for people who are like, "The fuck?" Like, to explain it from a very psychological perspective, um, this is like Carl Jung, Joseph Campbell territory. Um, we have, like we have huge aspects of ourselves that live solely in the subconscious. Parts of ourselves that we have decided we cannot show anyone because society, our parents, whoever has told us that it's unlovable, unacceptable. And so this is about reclaiming the parts of self, the parts of the human experience that we have deemed unlovable and thus shadow territory, because they don't go away. They just get shoved into the subconscious and they come out sideways. Um,
Literally.
this is about reclaiming them and reclaiming them in alignment with love. So, like, how can you connect to the part of you that is destructive and fully aligned with love? How can you connect to the part of you that's spitting mad and aligned with love? How can you connect to the part of you that understands death and rebirth
Yeah.
aligned with love?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I cannot wait. Um, so this has been our pelvis episode. If you like, let us know how you felt about it because this was kind of an experimental episode where we didn't really know what we were talking about. And we were just like, let's just explore it together on a podcast. So let us know how you feel about it versus the ones where we're always going to come to you with ones where we're like, we're excited to share this with you. But this was more of like, we don't really know, but we think there's something here
Mm.
sort of vibe. Yeah. All right. You have anything to add here?
No.
Okay. Amazing, everybody. Thanks for joining us. And we'll see you on the next episode of the Body Knows Dark Goddess Edition.